Hi, my name is Connor Eckerman, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the history of the Holy Crusades. For starters, what were the Crusades and what caused them? So according to Adam Howard, Jeremy Kibbe, Danny Robertson, and Alex Scanlon, there were holy wars fought over religion as well as war and other reasons. And it all started with the rise of the Turks in 1050, which led to the creation of the Seljuk Empire also in the 9th and the 11th century. And they grew in power for the next 30 years until they fell, forming different groups of Turks that became the enemies of the Crusaders in the future. With that, how were the Crusades financed? Well, according to Lisa Blades and Christopher Pike, not much is known about how non-elites financed the wars, but the elites financed the wars by selling land and property like mills and vineyards, as well as marketing rights, future revenue streams, and serfs. With that, the kings and emperors also helped finance by creating new taxes like the poll tax. Now we get to the First Crusade. According to John Phillips, the First Crusade was called by Pope Urban II in 1095 and lasted until 1099. The goal of this crusade was to retake the Jerusalem from the Turks. And it started with the Crusaders capturing Achaia, Edessa, and Antioch before capturing Jerusalem from the Turks on July 15th, 1099, ending the First Crusade. Then for the Second Crusade, according to Mark Damon, it was called by Pope Eugenius III in 1147, when Edessa fell to the Janji, and it lasted until 1149. And Louis VII of France and Conrad III of Germany had teamed up and went to attack Damascus, which was the capital of the Muslim world, which actually was allied with the Crusaders until this. And the Crusaders had captured Jerusalem, Damascus, until Nur al-Din, the leader of the Muslims, had arrived and got them to go away, ending the Second Crusade, also known as the Disastrous Crusade. Now, for the Third Crusade, according to Jonathan Phillips, it began in 1189 when Egypt captured Jerusalem and the Crusaders lost the Battle of Hattin, and it lasted until 1192. It started when Henry II, his son Richard, Philip II of France, and the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick I had made crusade vows. And Frederick had left first in 1190, but he was killed a year later when, right after they made their vows, Henry II had died. So then Richard and Philip II had defeated Acre before Philip had went home to his people, and then Richard had went on to try to take Jerusalem, but instead made peace with the Sultan in order to go home to his people. But however, none of them made home because they were killed, ending the Third Crusade. Now, with the Fourth Crusade, according to Mark Damon, it was called in 1198 by Pope Innocent in an attempt to regain Jerusalem, but it didn't start until 1202 and it lasted until 1204. The Crusaders had started by seizing the Port of Zara from the King of Hungary before capturing Constantinople. Now, Constantinople was briefly captured by Mazulis in 1204 before being regained and plundered by the Crusaders not long after, which ended the last of the four major crusades. Now, with the Fifth Crusade, according to Jonathan Phillips, it was called in 1217 in an attempt at regaining Egypt from the Turks and lasted until 1221. So this crusade happened in groups. So 1217 to 1219, Angel II of Hungary had attempted to take Acre, but he failed. And then 1219 to 1221, Cardinal Palladius of Portugal had led an expedition to Egypt, which seized Damietta before it was defeated in Cairo. Then long after that, 1228 to 1229, after the crusade, Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II had took Jerusalem. However, he was excommunicated from the church at the time, so the French gained control of it, and they had the city until the Turks captured it for the final time in 1204 or 1244, meaning that the Turks had the control of Jerusalem from that point forward. Now, with the Sixth Crusade, according to Mark Damon, it was called in another attempt at taking back Jerusalem from the Turks. It lasted from 1248 to 1254, when Louis IX of France led an invasion of Egypt that took Damietta before being defeated at Mansour, which led to him being captured and forced to give up Damietta for his freedom So you see that crusade had failed. Then we get to the Seventh Crusade in 1270 when Louis IX again wanted to defeat Egypt and take back the Holy Land. This time he started by attacking Tunis, but his army failed shortly later after he was killed, ending the final crusade. So with that being said, how did the Crusades affect the Western world? Well, there was a lot of political, economic, and social trouble, like ravaging disease, kings and emperors not being able to help their kingdoms, property value decreasing, many people couldn't even afford basic food and pleasantries, and there's also a lot of constant fighting still going on. And eventually Europe did recover, but the religious tension is still there today. Like, for example, terrorism, just personal conflicts, genocide, things like that, and wars and things of that nature still going on today from all these crusades. Now, with a little conclusion here, the Crusades caused a lot of blood and destruction. They were political and religious wars that were aimed at defeating Muslims. And then they were caused by the growth of Muslim population, as well as war, political conflicts, etc., etc. And as you can see, some have failed and some succeeded. However, the effects are still felt today. And these are my sources. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.